afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn. It is 12 o'clock. We have quite a few registered, so we're just going to allow for a minute or so for everybody to enter our virtual room. For everyone that's in, if you'd like and you feel comfortable, feel free to put your name and organization in the chat and say hi. I get the pleasure of seeing you all here, so I'm so excited to, well, not really see you all, but see you all. Thanks for joining us. Love seeing everybody here. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi, Bob, new member of the coalition. Thanks so much, Bob Cleveland, for joining. Appreciate you. Appreciate all our members on here. We'll probably get started in, actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and get us started now. I know everybody's still filing in, but I just want to say good afternoon and welcome. I am Christine Hess, and I am the Executive Director for the Nevada Housing Coalition, and this is, of course, our May Lunch and Learn. This series is part of our education platform where we work to build capacity for all our members and stakeholders by sharing best practices, informative resources, and beneficial programs. Today's topic is also part of this platform. But before I introduce it, I do want to remind everyone that we do have upcoming housing policy forums. These forums are member-only events. That said, as you know, the coalition struggles with member-only. So if you are really love policy and a policy wonk like so many of us, just reach out and we can look at providing a special code for registration. But we are hosting currently June 21st in Las Vegas at the Culinary Academy, and we're just finalizing the location in Reno for June 22nd, 10 to 3. Expect some very robust, positive, solutions-oriented conversations with outcomes that hopefully will shape our legislative session and many of the housing policies that we see come through our legislative session in 2023. So with that, let's get started today. I know that some links have been posted in the chat, and we'll continue to post those for everybody. But today I am thrilled to welcome our newest teammate, Joanna Grant. Joanna just joined the coalition this spring, and she is leading a brand new initiative, Elevate Nevada, which is our statewide capacity building program. This program is what you're going to be hearing about today, that is in partnership with the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco. For those of you who've met Joanna, you know her energy and passion for housing is contagious and awesome. So she really fits the Nevada Housing Coalition team, but she also fits Nevada. She is a native from Las Vegas, and like Amanda, they are both located in Las Vegas. Of course, I'm based in the north. But Joanna has housing background, particularly around supportive housing, but just brings a new set of eyes for us here in Nevada with some former experience in Washington. And I'm really looking forward to the work that Joanna is leading. And make no mistake, she is leading our Elevate Nevada program. So I'm going to kick it off to you, Joanna.
Thank you so much, Christine. And hello, everyone, and welcome to the Elevate Nevada launch. I'm really excited to be here today. As Christine mentioned, my name is Joanna, and I'm the new project and grant coordinator at Nevada Housing Coalition. I'm super happy to let you all know that with the funding support from Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco, we're developing a statewide capacity building initiative intended to support Nevada-based funders, developers, and housing service providers in getting more projects off the ground through comprehensive education, training, mentorship, and technical assistance. We want to help you build the skills and connections you need to submit competitive funding applications, design and build modern and innovative housing, and provide up-to-date and evidence-based housing services. Just like you, we want to see a substantial increase in affordable housing options for all Nevadans, and we really hope that this program will help us foster the skills and secure some of those resources we need to close that inventory gap, especially for very and extremely low-income population. I'm really stoked to be a part of this organization. I've met so many amazing people. I'm super energized by all the housing conversations and work and policy advocacy that's happening in Nevada. And I can't tell you how grateful I am to be here with all of you. Thank you for joining us today. I want to introduce Alyssa Thunberg, Senior Director of Affordable Housing for Program Funding and Compliance at the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco. Alyssa has over 15 years of experience in affordable housing and has been with the Federal Home Loan Bank since 2014. She's here to talk to you about the bank's recent commitment to Nevada through their targeted fund and their role in the creation of this initiative. So I will let Alyssa take over. Welcome, Alyssa. Thank you so much for kicking us off.
Yeah, thank you, Joanna. Good morning, everyone. I'm really happy to be joining today on behalf of the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco to help kick off the Elevate Nevada program. We've actually been partners with the coalition since their founding and in fact helped them get started because even then we wanted to see more affordable housing developed in Nevada. To talk a little bit about this fund came about, every year we do research for what we call our community lending plan, where we look at the state of affordable housing in our district. And in 2021, we found that Nevada had really an exceptional lack of affordable housing, with the lowest number of affordable rental homes available for extremely low income renters in the country. Relatedly, we also found that Nevada has the lowest number of nonprofit organizations within our district, which is California, Arizona, and Nevada. Of course, this is going to affect the total amount of affordable housing produced in the state. On top of this, our findings also aligned with the recommendations that you all probably saw coming out of the coalition's American Rescue Plan Task Force, which also made clear that capacity building funds were needed in addition to the unprecedented amount of housing dollars that were coming through the state. So we knew we wanted to put funding towards this issue, and after speaking with key members of the affordable housing community in Nevada, decided that funding a capacity building program through the coalition would really be the best way to maximize impact because we would be able to leverage all the institutional knowledge and connections that the coalition has built up around the state over the years. So we're really proud to continue this partnership with the coalition to start this program to ensure that we're not only building housing now, but also building experience for new and growing Nevada developers to ensure an affordable housing pipeline really well into the future. So I know that not everyone is necessarily familiar with us or our programs. So I wanted to make a few points about who we are and talk about our affordable housing program, as we're hoping that that funding source can also be used by projects that are developed with the support of Elevate Nevada. So you may be wondering, what is the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco? It's actually one of 11 cooperative lenders in the US. It was created by the government in the 1930s to ensure liquidity for home mortgage lenders. Our name is actually pretty misleading. We are not a federal agency. We're a private company, though we are federally regulated. We don't make home loans, and we aren't a bank that takes deposits. What we are is a cooperative wholesale bank, and we're owned by other retail financial institutions that are located within our district. We make large loans to our members that they then use to make smaller loans that fund housing and economic development. Since 1989, we've given at least 10% of our annual income to our development and down payment assistance programs. In 2023, based on the needs that I talked about earlier, we'll be launching a new part of the AHP, which is a targeted fund specifically for Nevada. There are just some quick basics about our program that will also apply to the targeted fund that I wanted to go over. The most relevant ones are the AHP award is a forgivable loan, so no repayment is necessary unless you have an unresolved issue of non-compliance or if the project is no longer actually providing affordable housing. The program awards funds to projects that score the highest number of points in a scoring system that is 100 points that has a number of different scoring areas. It's really very flexible, and it can be used to cover all kinds of projects and project costs with just a couple limitations. It is geared towards nonprofits the way the scoring is structured, but a nonprofit can partner with a for-profit. I also wanted to give just a brief idea of the AHP process and the timeline, which we currently expect to use for the Nevada Targeted Fund, although who knows what will happen as we get closer to its launch. Generally, we hold one funding competition in March through June of each year. And if your project's awarded, it must complete construction and draw down and expend the AHP funds within 4 years of award approval. Once the project's complete, the bank will conduct compliance monitoring to confirm that the project actually fulfilled the commitments that were made in the application and why it got the award. And then our retention period is 5 years for owner occupied or 15 years for rental projects. And lastly, I just wanted to give an idea of where AHP funds have actually been awarded in our district. You can see from this slide concentration of awards in California, since it is a highly populated state with a lot of resources. But this also shows that we have a good history of awarded projects across Nevada, which we really hope to increase further with the Nevada Targeted Fund. So thank you all for your attention. We'll be back later in the year with some more information on the new Targeted Fund. And we hope to be working with all of you on some exciting projects in the future. I'll turn it back to Joanna now to continue the program.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. If you're interested in that AHP program, we can put the link to the website in the chat, and there'll be some more information information sessions on that in the future. So you can keep checking back on our website and the AHP website if you're interested, or you can email me and I will point you in the right direction. I want to introduce our moderator today, Mike Shohet, president of Compass Development. Mike has over 25 years in real estate development, including leading several affordable housing projects as chief real estate development officer at Nevada Hand. Mike is a founding board member of the Nevada Housing Coalition and currently serves as our vice chairman. He's here today in conversation with our speakers, Michelle Merced and Brooke Page, on the journey to developing affordable and supportive housing. And I'll let Mike take it from here.
Thanks, Joanna. I'm excited to kick off this program today. But before we do, I actually wanted to ask Alyssa a question. First, thank you so much for the ongoing support of the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco through the AHP program that a lot of our members have used in the past. I want to ask you, so the Elevate Nevada, which we're launching today, so thank you also for your support of the initiative. I mean, that more importantly, but why is this initiative important to the Federal Home Loan Bank, and what do you hope to accomplish with the investment in both the coalition as well as the community?
Yeah, so this is really the first time that we've done something like this. I mentioned we did provide some seed funding for the coalition in the beginning that was also kind of geared toward capacity building. But, we've had the affordable housing program since it was started in 1989. And, there's never really enough funding to go around, but it's really become a lot more competitive in recent years, especially with some of the funding sources that have been introduced in California. They've really pushed a lot of funding out. And so we were seeing fewer awards going to Nevada than we had in the past. And, we were seeing that also coupled at the same time with the research that I talked about we were doing that was showing an increased need for housing in the state, which seemed in part driven by a lack of developers. So we really wanted to come up with a way that we could help here beyond just providing grant funds for development, since, we get a couple projects every year, but really wanted to see more and thought that we could help on the supply side as well. Leveraging the great job the coalition has done over the past few years and just to get more organizations interested in affordable housing. So I think along with everyone else, we're really just hoping to see more development in the state, seeing new players in the field, and not just with this influx of American Rescue Plan funding, but also going forward so that we can just get more organizations focused and trained on responding to this problem and really work towards closing the housing gap for Nevadans.
Yeah, and clearly affordable housing requires two things: resources, which we're trying to solve that issue, that problem, that issue at the state and federal level and local level, and also competency and capacity. And I think this program is really going to help us build the capacity of our development community to provide this really much needed asset. So thank you again. And Alyssa, I'd love if you could stay on in case, there's some conversation that you might want to dive into. But along the theme of capacity building, we've got a couple of people that we've brought on to speak on the issue. We've got Michelle Merced, who's the Executive Director with Neighborhood Housing Services of Southern Nevada. As some of you may know, they are a service and housing organization in Southern Nevada who has recently launched their first affordable housing development project. So Michelle's going to talk to us about that and what it takes as an emerging developer and all of her the hurdles she had to jump over and her challenges and all the learnings along the way. And then we've got Brooke Page with the Corporation for Supportive Housing. CSH is a partner in this Elevate Nevada program and is going to be providing a lot to help us move it forward. So thanks to both of you for joining us. So Michelle, I'm going to start with you. So first, tell us a little bit about Neighborhood Housing Services of Southern Nevada, its mission and the service it provides to the community.
So first off, I'd like to say thank you, everybody, for allowing me to have this platform. Christine and team, you guys are doing such a great job. So a little bit about Neighborhood Housing Services of Southern Nevada. We are a HUD housing counseling agency, an affiliate of NeighborWorks America and UNIDOS. Now for over 30 years, we've been serving the community. We were founded back in 1992. And initially, it was founded by a group of residents here in city of North Las Vegas to provide services for first-time homebuyers and financial literacy. So that's how we actually started. From today, I can tell you, we've got lots of things going on. And I'm going to if we can go to the next slide, I can tell you in service, what we've got going on is we have about almost 160 units scattered throughout the valley that we own and that we manage that are all affordable. And that kind of just shows you a little map. Next slide. Under construction, I can tell you we do have 500 Jefferson, which is located in the historic West Side. We've got North Street, which is a single family home development, the Golden Rule, of which we'll talk about a little bit later. And then we've got 3 single family homes that are under construction, or at least under rehab. Next slide. So again, today, 30 years later, not only do we own and we manage our own units for affordable housing, we offer home ownership opportunities as well. I do believe that this map is pretty powerful. We do offer homebuyer education, pre and post purchase counseling, down payment assistance, foreclosure counseling, and reverse mortgage counseling. And what this map shows actually is everybody that we provided down payment assistance to for the last 15 years. Next slide. And so some of the other services that we offer is financial literacy. We do have a Flip Forward program or initiative that we've got going on right now, a Blight to Bright, and then we also do have our grassroots efforts for community building and engagement. So hopefully that answers your question, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. So, Neighborhood Housing Services has been a service organization, and you've historically provided housing to the community through acquisition of existing properties. So development is a new thing for you. What drove the decision to get into, move into the development side for the organization, and particularly the complex world of development using tax credits and all those other tools that we affordable housing developers use?
So twofold. Neighborhood Housing Services had land. I think if anything, that is the biggest thing, right? It's the scarcity. So we had about 3.11 acres of land, and we were trying to determine what to do with it. So highest and best use, develop, build. I can tell you it has not been an easy task. We started this project before COVID. So yeah, here we are today. And we are looking to complete this project by the first quarter of 2023.
So you're talking about the Golden Rule Senior Apartments project. So tell us a little more. Give us the details, number of units.
So what I can, so it's 2 phases. The first phase is going to be 60 units. That would be complete by the end of 2020 or first quarter of 2023. Again, 60 units. And then we are manifesting that this year we'll start on the other phase, which is going to be right next door, still part of Golden Rule, to be a total of 120 units dedicated to our most vulnerable population of seniors.
And what AMI are you targeting, and what's the source?
It actually is going to be, it's mixed, but it's anything below 80% of the area median income. So we've got some units dedicated towards 80%, and then it goes all the way down to 30% of the area median income.
Okay. And so, the real tricky question is, how are you capitalizing this project? What's your source of funds?
So we love Clark County. So if Clark County, you're on the phone, we love you. We call it in our world capital stacking. So God bless the state. Thank you if Mark is on here. The state, we've got state money on here. We've got county money. We've got City of Las Vegas. And they're very instrumental in making these projects happen. And then we have private investors, obviously. So if anybody's out there trying to develop affordable housing, I will tell you it's not the easiest of tasks. But with those players that we've partnered with, I will tell you I would say we're moving mountains to try and really fill that gap of affordable housing. It's been tough, and I would say it's tougher even now after COVID. But what has come out of it is that affordable housing is in the forefront. Prior to COVID, we've spoken about it, but with the help of the Nevada Housing Coalition and the partners that I just mentioned, I can say that, even moving the needle a little bit helps. It helps a lot with what's going on in our community.
Maybe I missed it, but you didn't mention tax credits.
Oh yeah, we've got tax credit. The state of Nevada. Okay. They helped us out. Oh yeah.
9% tax credit?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 9%.
So complicated.
Yes.
We use the term lasagna financing, so a lot of moving parts. So as a new developer, how did you navigate all those complexities? Who did you talk to? Who did you reach out to for help? I mean, it must have been overwhelming.
I would tell you in the beginning it was. But, first of all, we're a NeighborWorks organization, so we've got so many different resources, right? Some key players, I will tell you, were a lot of our funders. And it was really in the lasagna, that whole puzzle, I will tell you, you have to surround yourself with people that understand this model. Everybody just wants to go in and, we can build it. It's not as easy as you think, I will tell you. But at the end of the day, when we broke ground on Golden Rule, we're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. Our consultants is Praxis. What I will tell you, being a first-time developer, is surround yourself with people that understand this model. 2, definitely do your homework in interviewing different people who are in this space. So when Mike says lasagna, you're talking about your consultants, you're talking about your general contractors, your architects. It can go down to who's performing the phase 1 in this space and this model of a lasagna, that you just want to make sure that you've got the right people on the bus. So that way, at the end of the day, your project is complete. It's been really tough, I will tell you, because our project started pre-COVID. And as some of you know, in this world of affordable housing, prices have changed. I mean, it's a whole new world.
Maybe getting into the weeds a little bit, I'm curious, how much did your total construction costs increase from the time you started the project to now?
So pre-COVID, we actually were at 13 million for the overall project. After, we're pushing 20 million. Lumber in itself. So it's interesting. God bless our general contractor. We literally during COVID, we heard it during our weekly calls. Procurement for supplies were a good hold for 30 days. Then it went down to 2 weeks. Now it's down to 10 days. So vendors or subs are not holding these prices for very long. Lack of supply, we have a lack of supply, getting the stuff on site. It's been challenging, but, once the bill, I can tell you, it was raw land, and now we're actually seeing the bones of it. And it's exciting to finally to see that it's happening. And, the end of the first quarter is closely coming, and I can't wait to see the final end product.
So that's a huge hurdle. I mean, you form a model on the front end of a project, and you're anticipating 13 million in cost, and now you're at 20. How did you overcome that? I mean, did you get help? I mean, that's a big.
Yes. So again, hats off to the housing division and to the county and to the city of Las Vegas, and even to some of our local funders. They really did step in, and everybody in this space understands everything just immediately just skyrocketed. Right. Our weekly meetings was, I can tell you, some players were saying, we just haven't seen this before. We haven't seen this before. And who would have known that lumber would have just went as high as it did? Nobody would have projected this, but at the end of the day, I will tell you the players did definitely come in and help out. So we appreciate them.
So, all right. So one more question for you, Michelle. If you had to go back and start over again, what might you have done differently?
Develop before pre-COVID. I saw that question, Mike, and I will tell you, I don't think I would have done anything differently. I think we had to go through this to get through it, to be where we're at today. This is our first actual tax credit project. We're still learning and working through it. And we're excited. And I know it's going to fill that gap of affordable housing, even if it just be a little bit. What I would like to do is do it faster. I mean, if that was my ask, it would be, how can we do it faster? And can we think about doing it with an alternative build model? I'll give you an example. Parking, it's always, we want as many units as we want, but we also have to consider parking. And one of the things that we were going back with the consultant and with the municipalities was we're talking about low income seniors. So it's not until the second phase of our senior project where we'll determine how many parking spaces for each unit. So we'll see.
Well, Christine, I think that sounds like a great topic for a future Elevate Nevada program around the physical design of these facilities. So, all right, so let's move on. And Brooke, sorry to keep you waiting. So tell us about the mission of the Corporation for Supportive Housing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mike. And thanks to the coalition for putting this on. And I'm so glad that you asked this question, Mike, because I find most people really don't, that I speak to anyway in Nevada, have never heard of CSH, or they don't know what we do as an organization. And so we are just known as CSH. Some folks like to say the Corporation for Supportive Housing, but we've dropped that and we're just known as CSH. And so we are the national champion for supportive housing. And, our mission, we work to really advance this evidence-based solution. And we know it's evidence-based because we've got the research to prove it. And it's important, for us to really advance this in a way that helps provide a platform for people to have a place where they can address their Maslow's hierarchy of need, right? If we've got folks that can stabilize in a place, they're not worried about where they're going to sleep, they're not worried about just the crisis that they might be in, folks can stabilize and have housing as that platform to then engage with services, to then be able to navigate their childcare or navigate their behavioral health needs or their healthcare needs. And so we really believe that having that platform for services will improve the lives of the people that are really the most vulnerable in our community. We are all about maximizing public resources and ensuring that we are getting our federal match and our federal resources in the communities in which we work. That's really important to maximize those dollars. And then we really are about building healthy communities, communities where people can live and thrive. And, you know, I really think of us as that neutral third-party entity in a community that's working with funders. Michelle talked about that lasagna soup and how complicated it could be to really find all those sources. We really help to make it not so difficult to kind of align funding, align timing, align NOFAs, and the things that really make it a little easier to get access to the funding to pencil these types of projects. So that's kind of the mission.
So the focus of your work, is it really around education? I mean, talk about that.
Yeah. So it's really multifaceted. I think the lot of what we do in a community is education and capacity building. We really work to help communities understand the importance and the business case of why supportive housing is really key. So we might need to do some education around need and really doing, you know, kind of evaluating the data in the community and really making the business case for a particular population. Maybe there's a major need for housing for seniors, or maybe there's really a housing for households without children that are experiencing homelessness. A lot of times we don't know that until we really bring that to light. And so we like to sort of bring the data. And then we're a community development financial institution. So we also do lending and we provide project initiation loans, but in markets where the market's prioritizing supportive housing. So we tend to bring our resources to bear and help with those project initiation loans or those development loans when there's takeout sources and when there's other funders that are also prioritizing supportive housing in a community.
So how do you help, how do you support the housing development process in particular? How do you help organizations like Michelle's?
Yeah, so, you know, organizations like Mike and Michelle are so important. Organizations that want to do supportive housing but may not know where to start. We are an organization that brings the secret sauce of our 30 years of experience doing supportive housing. We leverage that experience from other communities and we bring that expertise to new markets, emerging markets, to help build the capacity of newer organizations. And so opportunities like Elevate Nevada is a phenomenal one because we can start seeding some of these conversations and really helping assess organizationally what organizations are doing great things within their organization, but what they need to shift in order to really consider becoming a supportive housing developer or a supportive housing service provider. There might be some organizational things that need to adjust. And so as an organization, we help with that organizational assessment and really provide targeted technical assistance to help an organization make those shifts. And we provide training and ongoing, but a lot of that organizational, the financial health of an organization to be competitive for a lot of these funding sources. There's some things that the organization needs to make sure that they are aware of and they have the experience. And so we like to prepare folks for that and do that technical assistance.
Are there any particular programs or resources you wanted to highlight?
Well, you know, I think there's so much opportunity, and having investments like that of the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco in our community, seeding and doing an affordable housing fund program provides just a platform that we can do so much more. My wish is that we would have a fund that's targeted for supportive housing because it's such a niche type of housing type. And we want to build the capacity of our service providers and our developers to do this very important work. We need mission-driven property managers. And so a lot of our products that we have, like we've got the RACE initiative, which is a specific training that we're doing for Black, Indigenous, people of color-led developer organizations to help build BIPOC-led organizations to do this work. And we would love to bring that initiative to Nevada. but for that kind of strategic alignment of supportive housing resources. And so having like a targeted supportive housing fund, we could justify bringing that type of capacity building support specific to our BIPOC-led developers. And the gamut, because of our project initiation loans, we tend to be the organization that funds those riskier early development conversations, to do siting, to go into community and really figure out where these projects should go. And so we would love to bring those products to Nevada, the more that we have more supportive housing funders that are here as well.
So CSH is a partner in this Elevate Nevada program. Talk about your role in that and what you hope to accomplish.
Yes. And so having this opportunity, and I just really appreciate the Housing Coalition for considering CSH and the work that we do nationally, because I think what we have the opportunity to do in Nevada is really build capacity. We cannot really scale and address the need in our community if we aren't building the capacity of our organizations that are in the trenches doing this work every day, if we're not really assessing the expertise that we have in our own community to do this work, and making the matches to the developers who want to do this work but may not know who the service providers are in the community to do this work, as well as those mission-driven property management organizations that may want to property manage a supportive housing project but didn't even know that this was an opportunity. And so having a program like Elevate Nevada will provide us with the platform to do listening sessions. We're going to listen to our developers, our property managers, our service providers, our funders, to hear what their needs are and what type of training and capacity building would really help them see supportive housing and scale this intervention, and what the challenges are. We talked a lot about labor and lumber, and the cost of development is really high. So what type of funding, gap financing, and the resources do we really need to have in our community to do supportive housing? Because I hear a lot of folks say it's so expensive. There's not enough service providers here to do that, but there is. And so having this Elevate Nevada will demystify some of those conversations and really help us target what resources we need and scale supportive housing so we can do it and do it more often.
Awesome. We're thankful to have you as a partner in the program. Yeah. We're really excited to kick it off. So we're running short on time. There's a couple of questions from the audience I wanted to get to. First one, Brooke, I'll ask you. So Hassan Chowdhury asked if CSH does demand studies around the need for PSH projects to support new housing development projects.
Yeah, this is an excellent question. And so in addition to our lending and our technical assistance, we're also an advocacy firm. We advocate at the state, local levels, federal levels, and a lot of times we advocate for statewide needs assessments, local needs assessments, because without that data, it's hard to make the business case for a particular housing type, a particular population focus. And so that's something that we're actually advocating for right now in Nevada, is that we have a statewide supportive housing needs assessment that speaks to the folks that need services, that need this intervention and need that affordable unit. How many folks is that? What populations is that? Is it seniors? Is it people experiencing homelessness? Is it people coming out of our institutional settings? We want to be able to quantify that so we can then tell our developer community, this is the type of housing that we need. We need more of this, less of this, because we have enough of this, but without that data, it's hard to sort of make that argument. So we're definitely advocating for that.
Right. Thank you for that. Okay, so question from Mary Regan wants to know if the option of building a child care center at any of the new housing locations has been discussed. Michelle, I'll put you on the spot, but I'll also speak from my past experience in that we always consider childcare, whether it's like a legitimate preschool or childcare center within the facility or after school programs and so on. Michelle, I'm not sure if Golden Rule is a senior apartment, so there may not be as much demand for that service there.
Yeah, not for the Golden Rule. Have we thought about it? I can tell you before it was the Golden Rule, it actually was supposed to be a community center. Again, that piece of property, we actually got it in 2007. The initiative, like I said, was supposed to be a community center. Now, what I will share is that there was an actual church on the property. And so just remember this, church and state, got to separate it. So in order for us to even move forward, the church had to leave on their own. But as far as childcare, we would love it. You know, I do believe there's a need for family housing. That was initially our thought process for the Golden Rule, because our niche was not senior housing. We've got partners probably on this forum that do senior housing. But because of the size of the land, that was the option for the highest and best use of that property. I believe there is an opportunity for family housing, guys. We're seeing it more and more with the Sandwich family. You know, we need more housing, and you know, and hopefully Brooke can help us navigate through that, you know, with your help now. What we don't want is for 10 people to hide that they're living in a 2-bedroom apartment, right? And so it's build faster, and just get more units out there to serve all. And hopefully, Brooke, with that report that comes out, I would love to hear more about where that need is in our community.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Alyssa. Thanks everyone for attending. I hope that this, you know, this little introduction to our Elevate Nevada program whet your taste buds, and I hope you all join for all of the future education and lunch and learn sessions. And I will turn it back to you, Christine.
Yeah, and thanks, Mike, for moderating and all the work you do in the affordable housing space, and of course, being a founding board member. I also do want to just, Alyssa, I think as we talk about the projects, supportive housing projects are often AHP projects that are awarded by the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco, correct?
Yeah, that's true. We have a scoring category for homeless households and also special needs households. So we do fund, I would say, well, in the past couple of years, it's been over 80%. I think we just adjusted our scoring, but it's still over 50% of usually what we fund.
Yeah, and so as we talked, one of the things as we roll out this Elevate Nevada, definitely go onto the website. We have already a registration open for the Supportive Housing Academy and the first step. It's July 12th, and you can register. This one happens to be virtual, to be all inclusive. We will be planning in person as well, north and south, really trying to be inclusive, and additionally, likely leveraging our statewide housing conference that happens to be in Reno, October 19th and 20th. So this is all going to be working together, and you'll see there we're open for the supportive housing component. Additionally, we are getting ready to launch. It'll launch in the fall, but we're working through coordinating the broader education initiative as well that will support also supportive housing development, but that's around affordable housing development, finance and constructions, and those intricacies really geared at all levels and geared towards local government funders, just to bring us all up to speed. And really, this initiative is going to set the stage for Nevada's success for the next decade, I see it. Also, you'll see that coming soon is our Project Catalyst program. And this is really exciting. And actually, Corporation for Supportive Housing, if you participate in the Academy and are working towards an initiative, they also, as part of that work with us, are offering some technical assistance to help get you to the finish line and what that looks like. Our Project Catalyst program in partnership with the bank is really to help smaller projects get to the finish line as well. So I anticipate we're still finalizing the eligibility on that, but really sub-grants that the Housing Coalition is going to be making from $15,000 to $50,000 to organizations, again, to help you set up the best application. You know, Hassan, as you talk about the plans potentially needed or some information needed, or do you need a consultant in this area like Michelle working with our consultants? How does that look? So the coalition is excited to help get these projects to the finish line and really show a strong Nevada front as we look forward to the launch of the Nevada Targeted Funds in 2023. Alyssa, thank you for that. So with that, I will sign off, and I think we might be right on time. So thank you, everybody, so much. And you can check out our Elevate Nevada and stay up to date on there. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next month. And hopefully I see you at our policy forums, either in Las Vegas or Reno. they're in person and they should also be exciting. We'll be talking about our needs there. I know Brooke and I will be for supportive housing and for housing overall. So along with other items. So thank you all so much and have a great day.